Welcome back, citizens, to another edition of New Amsterdam Radio. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, in the mayor's office, hang with people who are doing the dang thing. And if you were listening to this podcast about a year ago, I've been doing my own travels, this one more like sports tourism, sometimes with other clients. But my guest today has taken his eye for travel and the lens to the next level. Please welcome Ralph Velasco to the show. How's it going, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
You know what? It's actually a blessing. We call this a get. Somebody who's just doing it the way you're doing it, making platforms, working on your craft. It's amazing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long road, but it's finally got here, and always say it only took me 45 years to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and most people never do. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask about that question first. I mean, you are in the visual space. You're a traveler, photographer as well. But what was the moment for you to decide this is what you want to do? This is like the path you wanted to take.
I've always been a traveler since I was 15 in high school, and I studied in Spain, and then the next year I was a volunteer in Peru. Following year I was a volunteer in Venezuela, and the following summer I studied in Mexico City, Spanish. So I've always loved travel, enjoyed photography, but it was sort of the dawn of digital photography that pushed me over the edge. Back in 2001 to 2004, I had my second restaurant, and I was getting to the end of my 3-year lease. I had to decide if I was going to sign for another 5 years or if I was going to sell the business. And so I literally took a yellow pad, and on the left side, I said, what do I dislike about the restaurant business? I had a $5,000 a month rent that came due every 30 days. I had employees. I was selling something that people consumed, could make them sick. I came home smelling like a French fry every night. So I wanted to do the opposite of those things. So I wanted to work from my laptop, wherever that was. I didn't want employees. I only wanted to have to count on myself. I wanted to take a shower before work, not after work. And I didn't want to sell something that might make people sick. So this is when, digital photography was first starting to come out, really, at least on the consumer level. And I thought there could be an opportunity to teach people how to use their new digital devices. And so that was really the turning point for me.
Not the point of this episode, but like I know a lot of people have that dream of starting their own restaurant, but those who have done it have always said, "Oh man, it's a grind. It's a grind, isn't it?"
Oh yeah, I was a third generation restaurateur, and I grew up in the business with my parents. And so I knew it pretty well, but I kept going back to it. That was my second restaurant, and I'm glad I didn't have to suffer through that during the pandemic, because we all know how those guys got hit. But I think probably second only to them was probably people in the travel industry like me, who was selling nothing but international tours, and people can't even leave their own homes for a year and a half, 2 years. So that was a big hit.
Yeah, that's something I
At
also
least
want to ask you.
Excuse me, I was just going to say, at least I didn't have the overhead and the employees and all that stuff. So I had, gotten down expenses quite a bit. So that helped save me.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask about the tour guide stuff because I know that the pandemic has done some things in the short term, but definitely does some things in the long term about how that even comes together. And I know that it had its own challenges, but I can imagine it was particularly interesting for you going from the more standard employment stuff to betting on yourself and having your own tours organized.
Yeah, especially in the restaurant business, it was difficult because, as I guess, in a level of employee that would move to another restaurant for 50 cents an hour more, and so um, now what I do is I use mostly subcontractors, people that are mostly around the world, because of the internet and things, that now we can hire these part-time employees, or not employees, but gig workers on Upwork and Fiverr. And so I've had very good luck with getting great people on those platforms. And it just, I've got people in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Morocco, all over the world,
Mm.
Ukraine. And so it just keeps me international.
Yeah. Well, speaking about going all over the world, I had a chance to peruse the YouTube channel and Continental Drifter. You'll make sure we put the links in the show notes for everyone to visit that. And everyone has a different answer to this question, but what's it like for you to build a platform about something you enjoy to share with others?
Yeah, it's great. I get to talk about uh, travel all the time. The photography part of it, which I really enjoy, is a very small percentage of what I do. It's probably 5% of anything that I my daily activity, and really that only is 5% because it's when I'm on a tour, it's a bigger portion. But I've kind of pulled back from the photography part of my trips. Of course, we're there shooting, we're photographing. Everyone's some sort of a photographer today, but I found that being behind the camera took me out of being present in the place.
Hmm.
And I've written a couple books recently in a new series I've created called The Mindful and Intentional Traveler. And I wrote these books because I needed them. Because again, as photographers, we go to these beautiful places and we see them through the viewfinder of a camera. And we get nice shots, hopefully. But I often ask myself, geez, was I really there? Yeah, I was
Hmm.
there physically, but was I there mentally? And I've got some great shots to show for it, but I wanted to be more present. And to me, that was that became much more important the more I traveled and the older I got.
What does it mean for someone to travel present? And I ask you this because they say in the United States we don't go on vacation as often as we should, and people save and save and save to go. And when we go, we finally made it X foreign country or international destination. Let's cram everything in, and so we can get back and tell stories and tell people photos and drink cocktails they weren't able to access to. But it doesn't seem like we're present there as well. What does that really mean to you and to the listeners here?
Yeah, I think being present is so important. And I'll tell you a quick story. The first inkling of this happened back in when I won't even say the year, but when I was 15 years old or 16 years old, and I was in Peru on that trip I mentioned earlier. I was a 16-year-old kid with 8 other boys from my high school, and we went down to Peru to be volunteers. We put the roof on a school. We carried rocks for the foundation of a hospital, did all kinds of manual labor stuff. But it was sort of a social justice type program. And as you can imagine, 16-year-old boys were moaning about not having our mother's cooking, or we're because we're literally eating chicken feet soup and cuy, which is guinea pig, and yuca, and that were so foreign to us. And so we're complaining about the food and about where we're the I wanted my own bed, or I miss family and friends. So one of the teachers on the trip said, listen guys, be here now. You've got this incredible opportunity to be exposed to this different culture, this different place. Take advantage of that. Make the best of it and be here now, because when you're back home, you're going to wish you were back here probably. And that always stuck with me. So I kept that in the back of my mind for many, many years. I didn't always adhere to that. But again, the older I get, the more I travel, the slower I like to travel, the less I
Mm.
have to see everything and always be doing something, feeling guilty about sitting at the hotel, or, just not being out there and seeing everything. Me, it's about quality, not quantity. And I do understand that people, that you may not be back to this place, so let's see everything. We're only here once, but there's always a trade-off in that with that mindset. So that's what I mean by being here now, being mindful, being intentional about travel.
What, in your opinion, is a mark of a good international travel trip? Are you into the museum things, conversations with locals? What makes you go, wow, this is like an all time for me? I'm present, I'm in the moment, I'm getting the best this country or city has to offer.
That's a really great question. It's very different for everyone. For me, it's about meeting the locals. It's about slowing down, sitting in a cafe, having a conversation with the local couple next at the next table, going to a pub, having a beer, and talking to the old man on the stool next to me. Just trying to integrate as much as possible. We'll never be integrated, but most what I call good travelers, and it's an opinion, people will try to integrate into the country, not go there. Number one, try to change it. We often
Mhm.
go to a place and it's like, why don't they do this? Or how could they do that? Or, we try to, you're not going to change a culture. We might have the best intentions when we say those things, but to me, it's about absorbing and observing and sharing points of view and outlooks and getting different perspectives from other people that are not like us. And
Yeah.
so to me, that's a great trip. The reason I travel is to meet the locals, to sort of dip my toe into their culture and lives. um, and the food. Food is such a thing that brings people together. It's a common thing that we all have, all need it. So learning about the food and having come from the restaurant industry, food is pretty deep in my life, and I eat 3 meals a day. Most people do, thank goodness. But yeah, it's about the food and learning about culture. And I love markets. I love doing food tours, having a local person that knows about the strange vegetables and fruits and can teach us how to buy them, how to prepare them, how to eat them. And I mean, I've done everything from eating tarantulas in Cambodia to putrefied shark in Iceland, and I say I'll try just about anything twice. I just don't trust first impressions.
Oh, wow, twice. Okay, you're a lot bolder than I am. That's what's up. You talked about some of the books you authored, and one of the ones that really gave me pause was the 60 affirmations for travel. So my question is, what does a travel affirmation even look or sound like?
Yeah, travel affirmation is something where you go to a place. I've got the book right here, and um, you open to one page and it's says, I embrace different perspectives and ways of life with an open heart. And then I've got some blank pages that people can fill in information about how that affirmation affects them or what it meant to them that particular day. I'm grateful for both the journey and the destination. So
Mm,
it gives us a time to reflect where we are, how we're feeling, jot it down in the book. And it's sort of a do you ever hear about people like you putting a rubber band on their wrist and they snap it to sort of bring them back to present? It's
yeah.
kind of like that rubber band snap that brings you back to the present, makes you start thinking about it. Because I don't know about you, but I am on my phone all day long, and these devices are made to take us out of the present, to take
Mhm.
us away. And they're great for that because, sometimes I want to go somewhere else or I want to look something up. But man, putting that thing in your pocket and just leaving it there, turning it off, unplugging, will is going to bring you back to present so much more quickly than I don't, me, I'm constantly, getting that little notification. I got to look at it. Boy, it's the end of the world, I'm sure, so I got to look at that device. And so unplugging is so important.
Yeah, yeah. I I don't know. I feel like I used to be better at that. I had to like leave my phone at home and go on a weekend adventures. Now I'm kind of like, oh, the scores, the news items.
Exactly.
One
Yep.
of the many countries on my bucket list is Portugal, and I had the chance to watch some of your content where you broke down some of the best cities to visit, and really you had your own stamp on the whole the genre of travel blogging and stuff like that. So when you create something for others, what techniques do you use to stick out amongst a very tight competition in your segment?
Yeah, no, there's a huge competition there. I just try to be myself because I can't be anyone else, and I want to really share the experiences that I'm having on a trip, which is what I like to do when I bring a group somewhere. And my trips are all small groups, anywhere from 6 to 10 people. I lead every trip, so I'm on those trips. And the best thing that I can do, and the funnest part that of my job, is bringing people back to a place that I've been to and introducing them to the people that I've met, sharing the food that I've experienced and probably fallen in love with. And to do that in a place, like having certain experiences that are very distinctive to that place, and then sharing that with my viewers on my channel is something similar. And so I look at the channel as a way to just share what I'm doing when I'm in a place, and all I can do is put my little spin on it, which is just kind of to be myself. And it's not for everyone, but for the people that it is for, they really seem to like it. And that's kind of all that matters, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in our line of work, there is nothing like a typical day, but you have so many different aspects of your job, whether it's working with vendors or working with clients or creating. Like, what's that division? Like, find time to write. Like, what is that division like during an average of days? I should say.
Yeah, you're right. There's no real average day because I'm either on a trip leading a tour, I'm maybe before or after a trip, either gearing up for a trip, and because I'll often get to a place 3 days before the actual trip starts to get over jet lag, to confirm everything, make sure everything's in place, meet my local guides, things like that. Because I learned early on that the more you can head off problems before they happen, the better the trip's going to be. And I almost never have any issues on my trips because of that extra little bit that I do. Um, so those are days that I'm, trying to rest up, get onto the time zone because I might be halfway around the world, confirming things. But it's also a time when I can maybe get my photographs. I can do the videos. So a lot of times, the videos that you'll see are me sneaking them before or after a trip. Uh,
Mhm.
because when I'm on the trip, I'm there to help my people have a great time. And so I feel a little bit odd trying to create videos while I'm with a group. But also, we do about a half day scheduled, half day free time. That, number one, attracts a different type of traveler. So it's not someone that needs to be on the go 12 hours a day. You have a free afternoon and they're wondering, well, what do I do now? They've got ideas for what to do. They want to maybe do museums, or I don't know if they bring a friend or a spouse who has a different interest that we're not doing on the trip. So you asked about museums earlier. We'll go to certain museums on trips, but mostly that's a thing that I leave for people to do during their free time.
Sure.
I prefer to do, yeah, the things that we do as a group tend to be things that are like tastings, wine tasting, caviar tasting, olive oil tastings. Those are things that we can do as a group. Museums sort of an individual thing. You kind of walk around and you look at paintings and sculptures and things like that. It's a very individual thing.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, that's a thing to do during your free time. Or maybe it's sit by the pool, or sit in a cafe. But for me, it's often time for me to get my work done because I'm working on 5 or 6 trips in the future. So I'm using that time to do my other work. When I'm on a trip, most of my hours are spent with the group, and it's not very good for, the administrative part of business.
Sure. Well, here on New Amsterdam Radio, we have a bit of department questions, kind of like a lightning round that we ask our guests just to share what they have on top of mind. But you can take your time. You don't have to go super fast if you don't want to. Are you down to play?
Absolutely. For sure. I love it.
You've been all over the world, but what is left on your travel bucket list?
I've been to Japan. I've been to Tokyo, but I would love to see more of Japan. That's a country that really fascinates me. Syria was a country that I really wanted to go to, although that's probably not going to happen these days. Unfortunately, it's been really devastated by the war. Ukraine was another one that I was really looking forward to. I had a scouting trip planned there um, for August of the year that they had the war started, in I think March that year, and I had a trip planned for that August, and of course that got canceled. So I haven't done much of Africa. I've done Morocco, Egypt, Northern Africa. So I'd like to get down to some of the more countries with their safaris and wildlife, which I absolutely love, and an incredible amount of cultural richness as well.
Huh, there's some countries left, which is great. Uh,
Oh yeah.
do you believe in days off? And if so, how do you celebrate them?
Oh boy, that's a tough one because as a one man show, I'm always working, always got business on the mind. So days off, having come from the restaurant industry too, where it's pretty much a 24/7 type of business. We always work nights and weekends, it seemed, but I enjoy my work. Not 100% of it, but I I do enjoy the sort of minutia of, making sure the itineraries are perfect and the websites looks good and it's something that people are going to want to click on and, maybe grab a tour. But what's nice is that because I'm my own, boss, I can, I like to work early in the morning. So maybe 7 to 11, I'll jam on it. And then in the middle of the day, I'll watch a movie or I'll go swimming or I'll do whatever I want. And then I'll come back to it when I feel like it later. I've got no set hours. So that's really nice, but it's also not nice because then you're always working, right? Because you don't have set hours where if you go into an office, you know that 8 to 5, you're there. And when you leave, you're pretty much done with work. So the work never ends when you're your own boss, right?
Yeah, I've been told a dentist can't bring the work home, but we can. So that's
That's a good one. I like
uh,
it.
everyone collects something. Do you collect anything?
Oh boy. I hate to sound cheesy, but I collect memories, let's say. But yeah, no, I because I'm what's come to be called a digital nomad, I guess, or location independent, means I don't have a permanent home. So I don't collect, paintings because I don't have a wall to hang them on. I don't collect rugs. I don't have a floor to put them on. I'm not homeless, but I just don't have a permanent home. And so I don't collect things. I mean, I used to, collect magnets when I had a refrigerator. You know?
Right.
Yeah. But I'm not a collector of things. I really am a collector of memories, experiences, stories, things that I could write down. I don't keep a formal journal, but I do keep notes and I write down interesting stories that have happened to me, funny jokes or situations that have happened, and I'll put them down. I've got hundreds and hundreds of pages of that kind of stuff. I just need to make sure that someone has access to that if and when I go, hopefully later rather than sooner.
Sure. And lastly, what would you say is your favorite junk food?
Ooh, good one. I do love peanut butter, and and it's especially a chocolate covered peanut butter with pretzel. I like salty and sweet.
Oh, perfect.
Right.
Oh man. Well, I gotta say, Ralph, thank you so much for being on the show. And I just being able to hear about how you're able to build your platform to help out others is really inspiring. If someone's listening right now or watching right now and they want to connect with you or learn more about what you offer, how they go about doing that?
Sure. So anyone can go to continentaldrifter.co. That's my website. Everything's there from YouTube channel. If you want to go directly there, it's youtube.com/continental drifter. Um, I've got a blog at my website. All my trips are explained there. So the main hub is continentaldrifter.co, and my books are available on Amazon. As you mentioned, there's the 60 affirmations for travel, and then also I have a travel activity book for adults that is a gratitudes edition. So that's part of that mindful and intentional traveler series. And I created books because I imagine people using them on like long airplane ride, or sitting in a bus station, or just sitting in an armchair at home. But it sort of brings you to these places, at least mentally. But there's also adult coloring pages, crossword puzzle, and word searches that have to do with travel. So everything sort of has that travel thread running through it.
Great stuff, man. Thank you so much for taking time out and just sharing what you've built. Man, that means so much for us and the listeners. Thank you again for being on New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives.
My pleasure. This was really fun. Thank you.